3, 2. You're listening to the Heroes Power Hour presented by BlizzPro.com. Your hosts, Balrog fan Zexorus and DJ Tyrant. Welcome back, everyone, to the Heroes Power Hour. This is episode number 73. I know you guys missed us last week. We took a little bit of a break, but we are back with the 73rd episode of the Heroes Power Hour, a Heroes of the Storm podcast brought to you by BlizzPro.com. I am your host, DJ Tyrant, and with me is three awesome other people. To my right below me is Balrog fan BP. How are you doing, man?
I'm always looking up at you, Jimmy. Things are going pretty good.
Yeah. Flames are already killing me in chat. I love it. This is great. If you haven't had the chance to join us live, make sure to check us out. Twitch.tv/BlizzPro, 7 o'clock Pacific in the evening. Also, Zexorus over there. It looks like is your camera frozen, Zex?
No, it's not. God, if you took any longer, I was going to start drooling on myself.
That would not have been good.
That would have been hilarious.
Yeah. I would have paid to watch that.
And of course, P Flame G over there in the right corner. How you doing, man?
Pretty good.
Good times.
Just high octane energy.
We are high octane energy.
We're
on a roll, guys. Let's go.
That is the energy of someone who's going to school and working.
Yeah. Well, with season 1 wrapping up yesterday, how did everyone's season go? Did you guys play games or you play more casually? I know, Balrog fan, you were a bit more casual in your approach towards Heroes this season, which isn't a bad way to play the game. I think that's perfectly valid. But what did you think of the season?
I like unranked draft personally. Hero League I don't have the patience for it. I think it's one of those things where if you could queue up with more than one person and kind of control the narrative of your team a little bit, I'd enjoy it more. That's why I prefer Team League, but I didn't even qualify for that. So I got my gold thing, or my little portrait, and I got 4,000 gold when I logged in today. What was that about?
That was they did a promotion where players would get a free hero with this patch, and they were 6 of the 4,000 gold heroes, and if you own all of them, Blizzard just gave you 4,000 gold. So that's what that is from.
Cha-ching. I can buy Goldan.
Cha-ching gold.
He's fun.
Or Ariel.
Mm-hmm.
How are we saying her name?
Ariel, I think.
Okay.
That's how I'm saying it.
Yeah, it's Ariel.
It is Ariel? Okay.
You guys even played Diablo 3?
No.
It's literally said in game.
A little bit, but
True.
Whenever I see like a cutscene, I usually hit escape so I can start like mashing things with my finger again.
There you Oh, there you go. Zex, how was your week in Heroes? Or 2 weeks or whatever you want to call it?
I gotta play some games with an old friend from Malaysia that I talked to on and off again. He was a radio DJ for Red FM over in Malaysia, Jeremy Teo, and it was really fun to catch up with him. We used to play Dota together, and then I noticed he started playing Heroes, and it was a lot of fun. It was pretty cool to see him try to play Tassadar. Shout outs to Jeremy if he watches or hears this at all. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah, I was probably almost more casual than Charlie was in my approach this season. I hit that D rank, and then I just stopped doing Hero League entirely. And I never finished my Team League either. I was just not motivated to do it. So maybe I'll give it a stab this year, but for the most part, really. It's more of the same. I'm just looking forward to Zarya coming out.
Yeah, it's only a couple weeks away, so we have that to look forward to. I believe it's the 27th, so that is 2 weeks away, so it's coming up very, very quickly here. P Flame as well. How do you do in your rankings this season?
Well, I got placed in Diamond 3 and ended in Diamond 2, so I advanced a total of 1 rank.
It's better than me.
Yeah, you went forward, not backwards.
I went backwards.
Yeah, I didn't play as much. I hit a point about halfway through the season where I was mostly just playing if, like, y'all were on or I had friends on, I'd do Team League or Unranked Draft. I think when I did play solo, I played Hero League, but I didn't play a lot solo.
Mm-hmm.
Then, a couple weeks ago, I was like, well, maybe I should probably push towards the end. I was like, man, the average gain, over, like, 4 games is, like 50 if you go even based on rank points adjustment. So it's like, to get all the way to master,
It's a pretty tough grind, yeah.
So I just kind of let it be and played Legion, and I think I will really try and hit Master in Season 2, assuming I don't just get placed in Platinum or something.
Yeah.
I'm worried that Hero League seasons are going to become like Hearthstone seasons for me, where every month I'm like, this is the time. This is when I really push for it, and then I don't.
Yeah. I couldn't you get placed in Silver, right? It's like, oh, well, I have like 6 ranks above me. It's hard to whatever.
Yeah.
But if you get placed in Diamond 3, it's like, man, I really should go for it.
That's true.
Yeah, being placed in silver is interesting because I don't know, the gap of skill is so wide there. It feels like, I mean, there's just people who have not common sense. I would say say they don't necessarily know how to play the game, just that they aren't playing as you would want them to. I guess pings get completely ignored. I don't know what could be changed to really help with some of the stuff in the lower leagues, especially. I mean, we talked to Elena a lot, and I know she wasn't able to be on the show, but I know she'd be talking about how tough it was for her trying to get out of silver, and she just was never able to because it was like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. It felt like.
It's very frustrating, and it's one of those things too where you can't really do a lot about it because it's a good mix of, like you said, players who just don't have common sense. There's players who think they're a lot better than they are, and then there's players like me who have like a pretty good understanding of how the game is played, but don't always make the best decisions and aren't mechanically sound. You won't confuse me for someone who's maximizing his spell or his ability rotations all the time and making sure I'm in the right place, hitting my skill shots and stuff. So when you start, that's kind of what silver is, and you're kind of hoping for the perfect storm to come together enough to get you like one rank up at a time, and it's very hard in Hero League. In Team League, it seems very doable because you find 4 other people around your skill level and you just go.
Yeah.
Win or lose, you're having fun with your friends.
And the thing about Hero League is it's such a grind just getting from one division within a ranking as well. I mean, it was like I was on a good win streak. I got 4 or 5 in a row, and I was about to get to my promotion match, lost 2, and it's like, well, now I feel like I'm back to ground zero almost. Yeah. But yeah,
I think.
Okay. Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, just to finish up the discussion, I think a lot of silver and gold is you've got either people who have decent game sense and bad mechanics, or you have people who have good mechanics and terrible game sense, and one completely frustrates the other. The good mechanical player is like, how'd you miss that skill shot? You're such a bad player. Right? And the map guys are like, what are you doing in bot lane right now? Or I pinged you 6 times, you didn't retreat. And it's just you frustrate the other people who have a different skill set than you.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a perfect way to summarize it. I had actually talked to Digitality about it too, and he mentioned how like it seems like at certain ranks too, even in the higher ups, people don't know when to commit. They play almost too safe most of the time, and they give up opportunities to take the win. He also noticed a trend where if he plays before 11 o'clock at night, he doesn't have as much of a good time as if he plays after 11 o'clock at night. He says a lot of the really strong players in the higher leagues seem to come out at night.
Yeah.
Because all the high schoolers and middle schoolers went to bed.
Yeah. Before we get into really breaking down the patch stuff, I mean, we talked about this 2 weeks ago when it was up on the PTR, but we'll be talking about the changes that came in addition to the PTR, or stuff from the PTR. I did want to really quickly mention I got the chance to be on Heroes Forge this last weekend on Sunday night. And Heroes Forge is another Heroes podcast, but it's a little bit unique in the sense that it's the basis of it is that you create a new hero for Heroes of the Storm and give them their toolkit and just kind of play game theory with all these. And I was able to sit with them and we went over 3 very different ideas of how to put Edmund Duke into the game for Heroes of the Storm. If you're not familiar with that, he's a character from StarCraft Brood War, and it would be really cool to see him, a very iconic Terran character, being brought into the game. So yeah, if you have a chance to check that out, it was really fun. They're really great people over there, and it was a really fun time on that podcast. But we'll get into the patch stuff now. Charlie.
Hold on. I have an important question for you, Gene.
Yes.
I didn't get to watch it, but was Edmund Duke's trait lose an objective? Because thank you, you got that joke.
No, there was something close though. One of the heroics that one of the other co-hosts thought of was basically you become this super huge battle cruiser, and at the end you crash into the ground and deal massive damage below it. So similar to it. Okay.
I'm good. Let's move on.
Sweet. We'll go on to the patch stuff. Charlie, did you want to take the lead on this? As there were some changes from PTR to live that Blizzard did mention here.
Yeah, one of the major ones is, and it usually goes along, but it's worth noting that they've limited the maps that will be available when you do anything but custom games. The random map picks will be between Braxis Holdout, the new map, which will have a higher frequency of appearing during this time period, Towers of Doom, Cursed Hollow, Sky Temple, Infernal Shrines, and Tomb of the Spider Queen. So all you haters who don't like Garden of Terror, now's your time to play. Or Battlefield, yeah. Yeah, those are two maps that will not be seen, and this is between the week of September 26th and October 17th. So there's a pretty lengthy time period in which this will be going on. This will be going on until September 26th, and then the second group of 6 battlegrounds will replace the ones listed above for the Machines of War event.
I'm assuming that's when the next battleground comes out?
Yes, I believe so.
That's fairly quick. I feel like we only get 2 weeks with our friend at our friends of Braxis Holdout.
Yeah. I wanted to really quickly get your guys' thoughts on Braxis Holdout. I actually got to play a game right before the show. It's a really fun map, but I've been reading Twitter all day, and all the pro players seem to absolutely hate this map and think it's just Haunted Mines 2.0, but worse. What have your guys' thoughts been?
I messed around with it just solo, just seeing like what kind of absurdity I could pull off with it. And if you get a full Zerg wave and your opponents don't respond in kind, that first Zerg wave can push all the way to core. Like the Guardians just outrange absolutely everything. They do a ton of damage. Like I lost the Ultralisks and the Hydras pushing the bot keep, but the Guardians finished it off. So like you have to absolutely respond to that push. It's an absolutely massive push. And when you're doing that, your opponents are just going top and dealing with that. Like if you face a full Zerg wave, that opening round, you're losing 1 keep minimum. Like at best, you're losing 2 keep. You're losing. Not keeps, forts. You're losing 2 forts and a keep at best.
So that does sound like Haunted Mines, because if you gave up like a full Golem first round, you were probably going to lose a fort and maybe even have your keep exposed.
Yeah.
And it's definitely feeling like a battleground that Sylvanas will be especially strong on. And I guess any specialist will really be able to take advantage of this. And
Sylvanas will always excel where there's a mag mechanic that pushes structures with you. She's not as useful on like what's it? Laser map, Sky Temple,
Sky Temple, yeah.
Yeah.
or Black Hearts. But if she can push alongside something and disable the structure, she's really good.
Right, and and you have to target each Zerg.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're all individual mobs.
I
Like,
was
you can't just target the group at large.
I
You've
was
gotta pick
surprised at
off.
how big of a wave it was. I was like, there's
Yeah,
a
that's what
lot of
shocked
crap
too.
to deal with here. In the like you were saying though, the Guardians are definitely the I think most problematic thing about this because there's 3 of them at the full power, and they just do massive range damage. It's absurd.
Mhm.
But
But
We'll have to
again,
see.
like the pros might hate it, but it's a map you can win and win quickly on.
mhm.
So it's gonna get picked.
Yeah.
You don't not pick a map because you hate it. You pick a map because you know there is a mechanic that will let you win in an overwhelming fashion and quickly at that. And that's what Junction brings. Holdout
Praxis
brings. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's gonna get picked. Like I don't see this map not getting picked in competitive.
Yeah. And really quickly, though, as well, they added a new player battleground progression. This is really interesting. I guess this is to really kind of ease new players into the game. So now new Heroes of the Storm players who enter matchmaking will initially only be matched for games on certain battlegrounds. And as they complete more games, they'll unlock more battlegrounds. At 0 games played, they will only get on matches that are on Cursed Hollow. And then at 5 games played, they'll be matched on any battlegrounds listed in the reduced pool that we just mentioned. So I think that's probably good for newer players, just so there's not too much information overload. Oh, I have to learn a new map while I'm learning this game as well. So we'll have to see. And then also daily quests are being introduced for beginner players at account level 1. They get a new daily quest, play 3 games, and it's 300 gold. And after reaching level 11, it gets replaced by the traditional play 8 games quest that we all know and love and hate.
It's a good one, I think. I got to play Braxis Holdout for like 3 minutes and 21 seconds, and then I was playing during that giant like BattleNet dump that took place earlier, where everybody lost access to BattleNet. So, I obviously didn't get to get very far into it, but I did get to test out a hero I think was going to be pretty strong on that map, and early indicators seem to point in that direction. That's Jaina. I think she has a lot of good zone control and does a lot of good things on that map that she's already a strong hero, and when you're able to apply that AoE damage for either clearing out the Zergs or fighting on those on the holds or whatever, it's very helpful. It seems to be a very chaotic map too. Well, I mean, I guess most new maps are like that, but early impressions are that it might end up being my favorite 2-lane map.
Yeah, I mean, the music is really good. There's a whole lot of fun new things to be trying out on the battleground, and it's something totally new for people to play. So I think it's a good fresh coat of paint for Heroes of the Storm. And going back to the patch notes, though, we have a couple changes to neutral mobs here. We have on Towers of Doom, the Headless Horseman, his attack damage is increased from 145 to 158. That guy already did a whole ton of damage, and it was a very risky play, I feel like. So this is even going to be a little bit more risky for teams to be going after the boss on Towers of Doom. In kind as well, in Battlefield of Eternity, in Infernal Shrines, the Impaler's damage has been increased 40 to 46. So just a little bit more of a threat from those camps getting captured. Carl, did you see these changes for Falstad? So a little bit of a different change from the PTR here.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's basically just the first couple are damage nerfs on his Q build, because he's I mean, this weekend there was the Bloodlust Open, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's not like the top teams, but Falstad was pretty much Bander first pick the whole time. between his map mobility and damage and all this stuff. So I think that's just kind of what their goal was. They nerfed the hammering damage itself. They nerfed the boomerang damage at 7, which is where he got a lot of his burst from. And then they keep buffing these W talents. Because I mean, part of it is they want you to take other builds, but part of it is just he's really good right now. He could use some nerfing.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know. Do you think these are enough to kind of get players or encourage players to try different builds?
I'm going to be trying W build for a bit. I think it's a really strong 1v1 build. So especially if you're on like Dragonshire or something like that, it's going to be pretty good. And if the Q build's really this nerfed, it might just be better DPS in general.
So yeah, that's just kind of a wait and see, and we'll have to see how exactly that plays out. But another hero that got a lot of changes was Vala, but she also got changes to the live patch from the PTR. She had the basic attack damage reduced significantly from 94 to 75, and now this was a concern I think we all had when we were discussing the changes on the PTR. But the hatred stacks now drop after 6 seconds instead of, I believe it was 5?
It was 4.
Or 4, okay.
4.
So,
Okay,
so this is actually back to the original, I think, time of dropped hatred stacks.
Well, they still drop all at once. And I think they fell off before the patch. And I think the AD was lower before they updated it. It was like 60-something.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so this was a buff from the PTR patch, but still nerf compared to live.
Okay.
So the 75 attack damage. So it's basically, the biggest feedback was like, her auto attacks without hatred do nothing, and her trait falls off too fast for her auto attacks to ever really do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So they fixed that.
That they did. And some other stuff, Asmodan, they reverted the change it looked like they were going to do on PTR to make Global Annihilation a little bit harder to stack. It's being returned to 1.5 seconds, so you have a little bit of a leeway there for getting those stacks.
Like 4 times.
Yeah, they've changed it multiple times. Hard to keep track of. Hammer, they did a couple changes there. They removed the Slowing Minds talent level 7 and moved Minefield to level 7. Not too much change there. Zag got basically damage reduced across the board, and the Mutilus duration dropped about 15 seconds here. So that's a damage nerf as well. So I don't know if that really fixes what the problem is with her, especially in the high level right now. It's mostly just her mobility and ability to push lanes. So
I think they want to keep that. I think they're happy with her being a Nidus user and a split pusher, but they don't want her to also be incredible in team fights, which is why they're nerfing her damage and leaving Nidus alone.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes a lot of sense because there's no hero like her. Her kit is very unique, and it adds a fun dynamic to most games, especially when you're watching on the pro scene. So it's like Carl said, you don't want her to add that dimension to the game and also do a crap load of damage.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Before we close this out, though, really quick, I wanted to mention this also includes that mount nerf that kind of people, I think, kind of glossed over a little bit. But playing the one game that I played today on live, you definitely could feel the 10% less speed. I felt like, I don't know if anyone else has noticed that. What do you think this is going to do to the game now that it's out on live? I mean, the first comment on this post here is discussing the mount change and just frankly not liking it.
I don't think it really changes anything. Like the basic meta to the game is still going to be the same. It is going to make split pushing a little. It's going to make split pushers a little better in the long run because you can't respond as quickly. Well, technically, you just in a perfect world, you just respond 10% slower.
Yeah, I mean, I think the difference between the amount of time it takes to get from mid to bot lane was increased by about a second, which is something, right? In HOTS, sometimes if you had gotten to that team fight a second sooner, it would have been different. It makes a difference, but it's not enormous.
It puts a little bit of even more of a premium on the people with global talents, which, in hindsight, makes will probably make Zagara, Brightwing, Dahaka a little more suited for certain maps, especially the really big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And if you haven't had a chance, make sure to check out all the patch notes on heroesthestorm.blizzpro.com. We have them all up there for you to check out. Willie, you had a little something kind of chirping in your ear that you wanted to talk about. And Tempo Storm actually put out a pretty big article about the future of Heroes of the Storm esports. Why don't you let us know your thoughts on this article and just what you think about the current state of competitive heroes?
Well, as much as it made me laugh over the course of the North American qualifiers and Eventic being super salty about not making it through the qualifiers, if I remember correctly, they have a point. And that some of the best teams aren't going to BlizzCon in the grand scheme of things. Now, this is not the case in China and Korea, where they both have league formats, which allows for more games over a longer course of time, culminating in a tournament to determine who moves on. It allows for more teams to participate. It allows for more viewership, and it grants more exposure to the game. It gets more people interested in the game than anything else.
So really quickly, I want to explain the league format a little bit to people who may not be familiar with it. Basically, instead of the way North America and Europe do it, where they do this mega tournament over the weekend and play tons and tons of games, the format is over weeks. You're playing in this basically round robin system in a group stage, and you only have to prepare for that one game that day. So you get time off to prepare for your next opponent every single time. And I think it leads to better quality games, like you were saying, and Deventic was kind of alluding to. But yeah, that's basically the league format that that the article was talking about. Willie?
Yeah, exactly that. And coming from other MOBAs, it's the format that I'm used to. Star Ladder, the Summit, things like that. They use a league format, and you get Star Ladder in particular. Before they merged with iLeague, you would get, I believe, over 200 games before the final tournament would start. That's a lot. That's a lot of games to watch. That's a lot of data for your opponents. That's a lot of data for your team on other teams who are competing, and of course you're not going to show all your strats early on. You're not going to say, well, we got the 6th strat, let's just blow it on this no-name team and just stomp them in the ground. So, but sometimes if, the mid-pack teams are forced to maybe tip their hand so they can stay alive. And then that's where you see that hidden meta start coming out, where especially after a patch hits, because we're coming up on this here real soon, I think, where there's a tournament coming up and we're switching to a new patch. Jimmy, am I right? Is there anything coming up that
there's some interesting stuff. There's the Nexus games that are coming out, which is basically to encourage teams to play this new content, the new heroes, the new maps and everything. So that'll be interesting to see. But obviously BlizzCon is coming up pretty quickly here. And there's also, I think there's Bloodlust as well this weekend. Right. And so yeah, there's a lot of tournament stuff coming up that is going to be affected by today's patch.
Right. So, but it's just, you have to forgive me, I lost my train of thoughts. But a league format allows for more games over a less stressful period of time. You have more time to prepare for each opponent than doing the Jim Kelly no huddle offense and just going from game to game as quickly as you can. Maybe sitting in the back and watching your potential opponents play each other when you should be like eating something or having a smoke or whatever you do in between games. So, it's Blizzard needs consistency across all regions. The China and the Korean formats work really, really well. It's less chaotic than anything America or Europe does right now. But really, does anyone else have any thoughts on that right now? Charlie?
Yeah.
Carl? Go ahead.
Charlie Kinner. So I think I really like a league format as far as like viewership goes. It's like, okay, every Saturday I know I can tune in and watch my team play a game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it goes on for like, 3 months, and there's like a playoffs, and there's like a little break, and then you have the next season, and a couple months in the playoff, and it's nice. With this, it's like there's kind of 2 big tournaments in summer. And in between that, there's not a whole lot. And also you get a better like judge of the teams, right? When we were making bets, okay, we were saying, I think, Gale Force is going to take this tournament. I think Denial, I think Murloc's going to take the tournament. Yeah, like, this team did kind of okay in the qualifier, and 2 months ago, in the first regional, they won. That's kind of all we had to go on. If you're in a league format, it's like, all right, over the past 8 weeks, I've seen them match up against every single team. I've seen them adapt with patches. And I think this team is the best at adapting to this new patch. I think this team has a really strong game sense, and they're going to do well. And you've got more data to kind of pull from and evaluate them and see where they're coming from, instead of like, Denial's got good players, so I think I'm going to root for them. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like the league goes, it just sounds like a more professional approach. There's just really no way around it. Nobody really, like, could you imagine if like, other like major sports was just like, all right, twice a year we're going to have everybody play each other in a tournament, and then there's going to be a bunch of time off, Like it doesn't work.
The Olympics? Just kidding. I don't know.
You know what I mean?
No,
like,
I know.
But yeah, it's just it's a stronger way to promote your product. It as Carl said, it encourages you have a time like every weekend Saturday. Oh, my team's playing. I've really liked watching them play. They do a lot of stuff I enjoy seeing, and I set aside this time to watch it. It could only be better for viewership.
Right. And one of the cons Tempo Storm had listed in a league format, and with a league format, you don't always have to do a LAN. Like that's one of the benefits of having a league format is Korea is Korea. Like, they're gonna go all out on anything esports. It's how they do things, and it's amazing to watch. And I love watching it. But another benefit of a league system is you don't necessarily have to be there, and it's also a con because you name one cast that is not a LAN that has a high production value.
Yep.
Yep. But and then so it falls on the casters to try to make it as fancy as possible. Whether it be green screen, whatever, what have you. But again, that also reduces costs for whoever's running the tournaments, be it Blizzard themselves, ESL, I don't know, Nexon, whatever. Whoever's running the tournament. So there's that. Another they call it a con. I think it's a pro. Is locking your roster. Like, North America is a swarm of chaos. I'm completely, like I say this as funny as I can because that's how I do. But like it is a ball of chaos.
It is.
Like, there is no roster stability. Like, they drop McIntyre was on Niantic, and he was on Niantic. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not wrong, right?
No, and he was on
Okay.
Niantic.
Yeah. See,
for
that's
most
how
of the
short.
year.
That's how short of a time he was on Niantic.
And then he's been on 2 different teams since then, I believe.
Yes. Like you can't grow as a team. Like who was it? Tempo Storm that very famously like melted down.
Yep.
They were still a threat. They hated each other, and they were still a threat.
That is true.
Because they played with each other so much. They knew how they thought in-game. And I like roster locks. Commit to the team, for longer than a week, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I like the idea of roster locks, definitely.
What was it? Another example, Astral Authority. They brought somebody on, and they were there like a month, was it? Mm-hmm. And then they brought on Equinox. They brought back Equinox, I should say.
Yeah, there was a whole lot of other drama with that too, but yeah, you're right.
That's but my point stands.
Oh yeah.
So like, yes, okay, fine. You guys hate each other, blah blah blah. Do it for the money. I don't like I don't like some of my coworkers sometimes. Not you guys, except Carl. But like, I still work with them. Because I'm making paper.
Yeah, it's an important thing to keep in mind, like that. One thing I've always heard, and this kind of harkens to like the fighting game community, Japan is a much smaller country, and they produce a lot of amazing players in these various games. And part of that is it's much easier to travel and compete and be around those people. It with a game like this, not always being in a LAN setting, you have to adjust to constantly playing online, which is it diminishes your players if your ability to practice if you're not always practicing online, which is kind of an issue when you're far apart. If you can all get together and play together on a dedicated connection against another team, and you're wired in, and it's one of those things where that's probably the only drawback I can think of when it comes to a league format, because you're kind of handcuffed to playing LAN like all the time, or I'm sorry, network all the time.
Yeah. So I mean, some people say the roster locks is a con. I don't think it is. I think it oddly enough will increase professionalism, because the people that are going to burn out are going to burn out, and everyone else is going to see it. Yeah. That's why I'm going to say it. That's why Zuna can't get away from Kenma.
That's the problem too. There's a lot of like, when an American player melts down, they're very vocal about it or North American, they take it to Twitter. It's a bad look. You need to kind of like handle that stuff privately and give a very public statement, like a professional would do, where it's like, I regret to inform you, I'm stepping down from this thing. I cherish the experience. Heroes is a great game. Instead, you got people on there talking, oh, this league is so busted and blah blah. It's like, come on, guy. Like you're only taking away from the legitimacy of people wanting to watch you, because no matter what you think, there's always going to be people who are on your side and people who will loyally defend the game. So you're just creating a discourse that goes nowhere.
Yeah.
For what? To stroke your own ego because you think you're like, important? That's silly. You're part of a team. You're part of a cog. You need to act like that. And I think that's definitely speaks to the professionalism of a lot of these teams in North America. You don't see that crap in Korea.
No, you really don't. And I think it's more of the organizational structure in China and Korea. Like Grimlock in chat brought up, he said that part of the problem, that's part of our problem, though. Nations like China and South Korea are fully invested in the esports thing, and we're still fighting whether it's legitimate or not in North America. And then he adds that, in his opinion, the level of professionalism across the board in North America needs to come up. If we've got top players freaking out and throwing rants to Twitter and stuff and looking like a fool when they do it, that doesn't reflect on the North American scene well. That's one of the things I actually liked about Cloud9. Win or lose, they were very professional in whatever they did.
I agree.
I
mean, Cloud9's
I don't
a
think
big org, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah,
that comes from their captain, who is Dunk Train.
Yeah,
Like,
I was just ready to mention that.
Yeah, I mean, he's someone I've actually been able to talk a lot about Heroes of the Storm. This guy is just super knowledgeable, super down to earth, and how he is able to keep that team together for so long is something to be heralded, I think.
Yeah.
All those personalities and just everything is really, really neat to see. Hopefully, I really hope to see Dunk Train playing again. As much as I love his analyst stuff, like, I would just love to see him playing again. And that's the other thing about the article kind of mentioned this as well, is the stability. I mean, we see all these people kind of coming in and out of the scene. There's all these new players. It's hard to keep these storylines going forward, because if you become a fan of a certain player, you're going to be a fan of 4 or 5 different teams, it feels like.
Well, and yeah, that's a problem too. In basically in American athletics and most like sports structures, in other nations, especially like Korea, China, Japan, they celebrate the team, they celebrate the nation. We tend to celebrate the individual here, or focus on the individual at least, and that doesn't lend itself well to teamwork. When somebody's getting more attention than everyone else, and it's like, you're saying, oh, this guy really carried the game because he's amazing, and it hurts the dynamic of teamwork. And when you're playing a game like, well, pretty much any MOBA, teamwork needs to be the focus. Nobody wins unless everybody's doing their job properly. Especially if the other team is doing a better job than you, or they're taking advantage of a weak link in that team. But it's still the team's effort, the team's win, the team's loss, and that should be focused on more than the individual, especially in the case of Heroes of the Storm, which is all team-based.
Yeah.
There are no carries.
Yeah, and I think just to move us along a little bit, this is something in the article that we've talked a lot about on the show. It's something Willie and I have talked a lot about, is when are we going to get a third ban into the game here? I mean, I think we're getting to the point where we should at least experiment with it and see what it does to the meta. And I think putting the third ban in the front, so 2 bans for each team in that first round of picks and everything, I think would be good to see. And this article, I think, as well goes along with that as far as shaking up the meta. Do you think we have enough supports and warriors right now to have a healthy meta with 3 bans for each team?
Short answer, yes.
Yes, with a caveat. I'd like to see at least one more support, like viable support in the meta, before I'm comfortable saying yes. Go with 3 bans.
Speaking of viable
6
supports,
total bans takes what? How many supports are in the game right now? 11?
That sounds right.
I mean, the ones that are actually good,
Right,
are
the ones that are
Uther, Rhaegar, Oriel, Monk,
Brightwing.
Medic, Brightwing. That's 6.
So you're talking about like potentially being able to ban out all the good supports. If both teams wanted to go down that road. Like, that's something I'm a little iffy on at the moment. There needs to be more supports.
But let me toss this counter question at you. At what point have you ever seen 4 supports banned out?
And I haven't. And like I said, it's kind of both teams have to want to go that route. But let's say Team A, in a 2-ban system, when you open 2 bans, do you rotate the bans, or do you does one team get 2 bans, then the other team gets 2 bans?
I think
Team
it would
A
be
bans,
1
Team
1
B
1
bans,
1.
Team A bans, Team B bans, Team A picks.
Okay, so it'd be like, we ban Uther, we ban Rhaegar. Then the other team can go, all right, well, we ban Brightwing. And then the other team goes, well, we ban this. And then you're kind of forcing a first pick support almost, which is a weird dynamic to have. And that's only happening because of the lack of supports.
And support meta will shift.
I can't speak for League, but you almost never take your carries, your damage dealers in Dota out the gate. You pick. Let's say you pick Shadow Fiend right out the gate. You've tipped your entire hand. Yeah. Like, they know exactly which supports you're probably going to go after and things like that. So picking picking supports
for those not familiar with Dota, that would be like picking Illidan first. You're revealing exactly what your strategy is.
Yeah. So like picking, I do that a lot. Sorry. So first picking support doesn't tip as much information off because so let's go the 4 support ban route. We go Illidan. Or not Illidan. We go. I'm sorry, wrong brother. We go Malfurion. we go Malfurion first. You still don't have a good idea of what we're trying to accomplish.
That's not the issue I'm saying. Like you're right on that end. I think it's weird to kind of set up like you're dictating the supports available from a very small pool when you have 4 opening bans.
I think
if
it's not
we
often
all agree
you'll
there's
actually
maybe
get
6
4,
to 8 viable
but
ones.
you can get 2 or 3, right? So if we got 6 right now, and I think 6 is great. I think we're in a pretty reasonably healthy support spot right now.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's always room to improve with 11
better
supports.
than before.
But yeah, it is. And we've had times in the past where there were 2 supports.
Yeah.
And first pick would just ban one and pick it, right? It's like, all right, we're going to ban Uther and we're going to pick Rhaegar, and the other team's not going to have a support that's
Unless
worth
the
anything.
other team banned Rhaegar.
Yeah, or the other team, sometimes they did. It's like, okay, well, there's this third one that's kind of decent. Everybody else like that after that is terrible. And now it can be a larger pool, Okay, say there's like 4 or 5 decent supports. You can work your way through those and force your own good one. But, right now I think it's okay. There could be a time when meta shifts and nerfs happen and the support pool shrinks, and then it's an issue.
Or if we add 2 more bans and we kind of create the same issue we had if players choose to go that route.
But
I think it would be more of a problem in casual play than the competitive scene.
I don't think it'll be huge. I think right now we could sustain it. I think, like I said, if nerfs roll around and we remove some support from the current pool, just from balance, they're useless. Then we're much closer to support banning out being a thing than we were.
Right.
If we add them.
And the article later on mentions that Cho'Gall would be a problem. And I wrote down my thoughts on that in the underneath our little show notes there. That Cho'Gall should, by and large, be irrelevant in a 3-ban system, because if you should be allowed to pick, in my opinion. And I'm 100% certain a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this. But if you want to pick Cho'Gall, you should be allowed to pick Cho'Gall as long as it's not the last pick, because then that makes no sense. But you should be able to pick Cho'Gall from your 1, 2, 3, or 4 spot. And you're like,
you pick them when you have 2 available.
What's that?
You can't. You're saying it's dumb to only be able to pick him when you have 2 available picks.
Exactly.
On
Like you should be able to allow to pick him from any spot in your draft order at the forfeiture of your next pick. And that too, on some maps, will change the meta a little bit. Because now you have to think, well, if they grab Cho'Gall right away, they're absolutely willing to. First pick Cho'Gall out the gate. We need to think about this. We know they have a Cho'Gall. What do we do here?
Well, part of that it really helps the team on the other side of the pick, because they go, well, we'd be worried about them taking this hero here normally, but they're forced to take Gall next time. So we almost have a free pick here. What do we do with it?
Right, exactly. So like I said, it changes the draft meta a little bit in those maps where Cho'Gall is viable. But like a lot of people are gonna probably listen to that and go, "That's completely idiotic. You're an idiot. Why are you on a podcast?"
It's true. I mean, I think that a lot, but I don't think you're.
I think of that a lot too. But
I think it's a good discussion to have though, because Cho'Gall, while he is 2 separate heroes, operates kind of as one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you've got one driver, and that guy's pretty much leading the train. Like, unless like I would love to see like a team get up and shove somebody out of a chair, like the Gauls shove a Cho out of their chair,
Oh my
and
gosh.
just take over and like just reach over with his other hand and like play both characters at the same time.
That would be funny.
The one thing I always, and when Gaul was released, since he's such a unique hero, it's kind of like, it's one of those things where, how much do you really want to worry about him when the rest of the game is at stake? In a situation like this where most people who follow the game seem to think that 3 bans is a good idea. Do you want to tank that out of a consideration for a kind of like a circus act hero who is very unique, very fun, and does impact a lot of maps, but you don't want to go, well, we can't do that because of Cho'Gall. You kind of like prove that it might not have been a good idea to create a character like that.
Yeah.
You worry about fixing Cho'Gall later. It's Cho'Gall's job to adjust to the changes, not the changes' job to adjust to Cho'Gall.
Mm-hmm.
League just recently did that reverted a rework where they're having to balance a whole bunch of items around one champion because he broke things.
That's why I don't like the item system. I never have. It creates too much chaos.
I never had any problems with an item system.
Well, this character broke attack speed cap and had an ability that doubled his attack speed. So every on-hit item had to be balanced around it could be bought on him. Because he could have literally twice as many auto attacks as anybody else in the game could. So they decided, let's not do that anymore.
And that's
Wow.
yeah.
Why didn't they just adjust the hero?
I mean, they tried, it didn't work.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Never
And
mind.
players had other concerns, but this isn't a League podcast, so.
But the last thing that I didn't, I've got one additional thing, but they touched on first pick advantage, first pick problems, and they show some really interesting stats on this. So, like the GHL during the spring, the first pick win rate overall was about 40%. So, and as we go through the spring season, we see that increase drastically, and that it's really interesting to look at these numbers and see how much prevalence first pick has in some areas, and then where it just falls through the floor in others. You know, so it's really interesting to see the aggressive draft strategy by taking first pick versus countering what the other team's trying to do by getting those 2 picks out the gate with the second pick team. So
Yeah. First pick tends to get priority on there's one OP hero in this meta and we can get it. Second pick gets counter picks. And if there are a bunch of OP heroes in the meta, they get to pick 2 in their first rotation.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of.
And so, I mean, it's that part's a really interesting read. They touch on the map rotation, stuff like that. But the last thing I wanted to touch on was a personal thought, and it's essentially helping. Blizzard needs to help get more money into their tournaments. The tournament money isn't bad, but it could be a lot better. There's a lot of people who absolutely just adore the characters that are in Heroes of the Storm. There's a lot of talented artists out there. Blizzard should, in my opinion, they should open it up to community involvement. You know, there's graphic design people out there who would make some absolutely killer sets for a lot of these heroes, and I think it would be a great community involvement project for Blizzard to let these people design sets, let them make some money doing it by giving them a portion of the sales, and then putting the rest towards future tournaments like BlizzCon and stuff like that. You see the system work in Dota to great effect. I'm not saying copy the whole thing copy the whole international system, wholesale, but the premise works. It very clearly works, and I think it could work. I think it would work to great effect here. I mean, think of the costumes someone could design for ETC.
There's a lot there for sure.
There's think of all the sets for all the Diablo heroes, and variations thereof. People could Blizzard has great ideas for skins, but the graphic design team is only so many people, and they can only kick out so many ideas at a time. Let the community get involved. I bet they want to get involved.
They definitely do. I mean, that speaks to the show Jimmy was on last week, and the things you see on Heroes of the Storm Reddit of new hero skin idea, new hero idea. They love creating stuff, and it's not like a photo. It's not a Microsoft Paint smiley face picture of some. It's usually, it looks like it actually came out of the game. The things these people design.
Yeah, it. Just think of how many skins people would pick up for that. I went through a phase in Dota where I bought so many skins for no other reason than I thought they look cool. I don't play this hero at all, but that's a bad skin. I like that skin. Let me get that skin. And and the crazy thing about that is all the heroes have different slots. Some of them have 6 slots for different parts of their body where you can mix and match sets. Don't do that. I mean,
Blizzard doesn't do stuff too complex like that. I don't
think. No, that's too much. Just let the community jump in. Let them design stuff. Hell, let people trade skins. Let them sell skins. Stop rotations of certain skins after a while. Whatever. But let the community get involved in the skin making process. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be disappointed.
Speaking of community stuff, though, we're going to soon wrap up the show. We're about the hour mark right now. But we did want to transition to the What's Hot on Reddit segment. Blizzard actually put out voice packs for usage by streamers, and they're really cool. There's one for Alarak and one for the Terran computer. I can't remember the name of the person. But did you guys get a chance to check out these audio files? I've already set it up a little bit on my stream. My personal stream, but they're really awesome.
Yeah, I've already got mine set up for Alarak on my new stream, and I really like it. I would like them to see. I would like to see Blizzard do this a lot more. I want to Blizzard. I know you're listening. Give me my Mecha Tassadar voice pack.
Yep. First when I saw this, I thought it was voice packs in game, and I was a little disappointed when it wasn't that. But then I got a really big smile on my face when I saw it was stuff for streamers.
Right. Yeah, it's a very cool concept.
Yeah, it's a great concept.
I mean, my personal pick is the Innkeeper. I love the Innkeeper. He's a narrator for Hearthstone too, so you're used to him kind of saying things, and I would love to hear a dwarf yell out "new subscriber," things like that.
Oh, new subscriber!
See, you committed. I wasn't ready to go in like that, but yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want him to say subscriber something about somebody sitting in by the hearth, and somebody walking in the door as a follower, or somebody just joined the, I mean, I don't know what these are. I hope they're not. Are they just saying new subscriber, or are they
They're kind of like the Terran, probably the most famous one, the Terran, what's it called? The
Adjutant.
Yeah, she says something like "new follower detected,"
new subscriber
in the Terran voice or whatever. So it's kind of like that, but there is room. They seem to give themselves a little room to play with it, but the longest one caps out at 7 seconds. So it's kind of just a quick,
Yeah.
Let's throw it out there real quick.
Yes. Yeah, just as I deserve.
I already want Kane.
Yeah,
subscribers,
that would
stay
be
a
good.
while and listen.
Like it. Carl, you got anybody?
I mean, I've always been partial to Magni, but if you're really recommending a dwarf, I guess the elephants can guide us.
The what?
Ever
The
hear
what?
Thrall's voice line that says "Elements guide me"?
Uh-huh.
Sounds like elephants guide me.
Okay. So it's like a tuna with bacon moment. Got
Yeah,
it. Okay.
get Metzen back from his retirement
I
to
know.
voice us a Thrall voice pack.
That was something we didn't mention. If
That's
anyone
true, we did
listening
not.
hasn't kept up on Blizzard news, yesterday Chris Metzen retired from Blizzard Entertainment. He's been at the company forever and been the main story developer. So I was shocked by the news and kind of not surprised at the same time. He's wanting to spend more time with the family, so BlizzCon will be interesting without him.
Happy retirement, and
yeah.
thank you for all the wonderful stories. You've touched, I mean, just your work alone has touched millions. So,
Oh yeah, easily.
retire that early and to have that kind of impact on the gaming community is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Definitely is. But let's get ready for our play session after our recording here. It'll be coming up in just a moment here. Make sure to join the BlizzPro channel in-game or check us out on Discord on discord.blizzpro.com. There's a new feature on Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/heroespower and you go ahead and donate to us, you'll actually be put... I think this is set up. I'm not 100% sure, but if it's not set up, it's very shortly going to be set up. But now you can connect your Patreon account to your Discord account, and you'll be able to join a patron-only channel on our Discord.
Woo!
So we'll be making use of that to set up games throughout the week and on the weekends. Whenever we get on, we'll put a message on there and let you know if we could play some unranked or quick match or whatever have you.
This will force me to use Discord more often, and I'll keep it open. And if you want to play other games too, I play a lot of Hearthstone and Legion and stuff. So, if that's what you're feeling that particular night, and want to hear my stupid self talk along with you while we play a game, I'm always down.
That works. But as always, check out here'sthestorm.blizzpro.com. Lots of great articles there, as well as Alebeard's content that he's constantly putting up, strategies about the game. Willie puts up build guides as well, so make sure to check that out. And as always, youtube.com/blizzpro, where all our videos go up all throughout the week, as we do have other shows on this network. Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific is the West March Workshop for Diablo 3. Thursdays is another show that I'm on, the Payload Podcast, for Overwatch at 7 Pacific. And Sunday, also at 7 Pacific, is Well Met, the Hearthstone podcast for BlizzPro.com. And I think that's it for episode
If you're on
73.
iTunes.
Yeah, if you're on iTunes.
5-star reviews, always very helpful. Pushes us up, gives us more exposure, lets people know that we're around and doing things. So that's always a helpful thing too.
Most definitely.
And if you like us, smash that subscribe button and get that sweet Jimmy stay tight Twitch emote.
There you go.
You want it.
You can
Do
go
that.
spam it all over Twitch.
It's very fun to let people know they should stay tight.
And with that, we will be staying tight. This is episode 73 of the Heroes Power Hour. See you in the Nexus. Okay.